Welcome back. In this video, which is going to be rather long, I'll be covering questions from the actual university question paper. The questions that we are going to solve will be carrying 12 marks divided into two parts, A and B. So we have to solve any two out of the four. Here in this video, which is going to be long as I mentioned earlier, we'll be covering the ways to reduce sentences to its logical form, identify what kind of proposition it is, and name the distributed and the undistributed terms. This is a very simple scoring questions. I'll explain in great detail each part of this video. I'll be breaking down the concepts, that is propositions, logical form, distributed terms, undistributed terms. Then we'll also learn about compound proposition, what it is, and symbolizing it. Thereafter, constructing a truth table for it. This is also very simple. Looks difficult, or rather, because it's a 6-mark question, it's a 3-mark question. And the part 2 of the B question is also for 3 marks. Here, what we are going to learn is to identify and symbolize the general propositions. First, we identify what kind of proposition it is, and we also symbolize it. So, this way we can score 12 marks here. And there is a 13 marks compulsory question in the fourth question, which talks about converting from different types of proposition to its valid proposition, valid statement in another proposition type. Once again, I keep repeating, this is very simple if you understand the concept, which I'll explain in great detail here and break it down for you. And we'll go in slowly. The video may be quite long. I may be making minor mistakes in typing out or in my speech, in my talk. I may be saying something which may be contradicting what I'm writing. Kindly ignore that. I may correct it coming back. There are chances that that may happen. Also ignore all background noises. It doesn't matter. Focus on what I'm giving you here in this video. So here also, basically what they are telling us to do is to convert this sentence, this statement or proposition into its subcontrary and contrary, subaltern and contradictory, and truth value of its contrary, converse and obverse, obverted converse, full contrapositive. We'll cover everything of this for 25 marks in one video. As I mentioned, ignore if there are errors, certain errors in writing or in stating something. Rest all, if I do come across, I realize it, I'll correct it as and when required. But just go with the flow, and let's start the video first with reducing the following sentences to its logical form and identify the kind and name the distributed terms. So we'll take up the first one. Frequently, athletes are not vegetarians. Alright, so this is the sentence that they have given. They have told us to do three things. Identify the type of proposition. Okay. Then they have told us to convert it to its logical form, which I'll explain again. Ignore the typed words, ignore some minor errors, otherwise we'll keep continuing like this. Third is let's look at the question. First, convert to its logical form, identify the kind and name the distributed term. So the third is to identify distributed term. So we'll also identify the undistributed term also. Okay. All right. So what we do is we start with my I may digress a little bit from here, from the actual topic, just to explain to you who are just looking at this video, to explain to you what a proposition is, how propositions are divided, and so on. So let's start with how to identify the type of proposition. So there are four types of propositions. There are four types of propositions. They are stated as, they're given as A with character A, alphabet A, E, I, and O. These are the four different type of propositions and they cover all types of statements. Now, what is A stand for? What is E and I and O? So A basically is it states that A means all sentences which are in the A type are universal affirmative. Affirmative means positive statements. Okay. E is universal negative statements or propositions. I proposition is particular affirmative or positive statement or proposition, and O is particular negative statement. Don't worry, this is very simple. I'll explain in great detail each of the points. Feel free to skip through the parts that you already know and jump to other where I am actually solving the truth table or converting into its logical form and so on. Okay, so we have these four different types of propositions: A, E, I, and O. Now, what does universal affirmative statement mean? It means it starts with a word called all, and E starts with, you just need to know gradually each of this. So don't rush into understanding everything. Just remember that universal affirmative A type of proposition, they start with word called all, or its substitute words called any. Say any, every means all, any means all. There are more substitute words. There's a separate video for that. Substitute words for propositions. You can check that out. For all types, it is listed there. So let's go to universal negative statement. That starts with no, none, never, ever, and so on. The I proposition type, that is particular affirmative, starts with some are. So this is positive. Whereas particular negative statement begins with some are not. Some are not. Now, let me give an example. All humans are mortal. Mortal means they can die. So all humans can die. So we have one statement, all, or let's make it more simple example. All birds can fly. So we have a universal positive statement. All birds can fly. All trees grow tall. So we're just giving an example, a general example. Not all trees grow tall, but some trees are shrubs. So for time being, understand that it's a type of statement that I'm giving. Whether it is true or false doesn't matter. It is a statement. So when we say all fishes can swim, all living beings have to eat. So then what it means is it covers the entire universe of living beings that have to eat compulsorily. Everything that is living has to eat. So that is a universal affirmative or positive statement, which is a A type of proposition. I think this is clear. Same thing in the E type, which is negative. Now we say the same thing in negative tone. That is, no living being have to eat. First we said all living beings. Let me just write it down here. The A type proposition is all living things have to eat. This is a A type proposition. If I want to convert this to E type of proposition, it would be, it may not make sense, it will not make sense, but we can still convert and say no living things have to eat. No living things have to eat. Now the same A proposition I have to convert to I type. I type would be some living things have to eat. As I told you, the conversion from A to I will not make sense because it is not valid. Although I am here for time being, I am just showing you how to do the conversion from A to E, A to I, and A to O. What is the valid rule for conversion? This is simple conversion. It is not a converse that we are going to cover later on. This is converting from one proposition type to another proposition type. So here also, all living things have to eat. This is the A proposition type. The I proposition type, sorry, O proposition type would be some living things do not, because we are, some are not, we have mentioned it here. Excuse me. We have mentioned it here. Some living things do not have, or some are not. And in the I proposition we said some living things have to eat, some living things do not have to eat, or do not eat. Do not have to eat. I'll make it more simple going forward. The same thing. Okay, so this is a very simple conversion. Now, here, if you notice, we have the universal proposition all. We have living things. We have living things, and then we have eat. So let's break it up and understand what is eat means, what is living thing means. Living thing is known as the subject that we are talking about, and eat is the predicate. This is very important to understand because we'll be referring to subject and predicate again and again. Okay, so this is predicate. Predicate states what the subject is, or its action, or what it is doing basically. So it is eating. That is, it has to eat. What has to eat? The subject has to eat. And what is the subject? Living things is the subject. Okay. Now, the middle part, have to. Have to. It's linking the subject and the predicate. So that is known as copula. Okay. So now let's break this up further and make a logical form of this. Okay. So we have here a proposition type. So this can be converted to logical form, like all living things, as we saw, is a subject. Living things is a subject. I just moved the screen here, so everything has got moved. We know that living things is the subject. Have to is copula and eat is the predicate. So all S R P, this is the logical form. This is the standard logical form for the A type. Okay. Now if we convert it to E type, it will be no SRP. This is the standard conversion type. Now if you have to convert it to I type, I will be some SRP, because we say some living things have to eat. So some SRP or some S have to P, like that. Alright, next is O type. O type is some S are not P. So this is known as its basic logic, standard logical form. All S are P. Let me just move this out. It's easier for you to understand. Okay, so this is the standard logical form that we have to come to. See, we have three things to do in this question. Frequently, athletes are not vegetarians. So first, we have to identify the type of proposition. So I have shown you the standard form of propositions. So I have shown you 4 different standard forms of propositions. Alright, here. All SRP, no SRP, some SRP, and some SR not P. We know that the first one is universal affirmative, second one is universal negative, third one is particular affirmative, and fourth one is particular negative. Alright, so when we find a sentence or a statement or a proposition saying all are, so the keyword here is all are, or no are, some are not. then we can easily convert to its proposition type. So now let's come back to the question part, that is identify the type of proposition. Now what proposition this is? So let's divide this into the subject predicate. Frequently. Frequently means we have to understand what is frequently. Athletes. Athletes is the subject. Vegetarians is the predicate. Are not is the copula. C-O-P-U-L-A. Copula. Now frequently means every time. Or is it sometimes? What is it? Because we can very easily understand from this thing, are not means it is talking about O proposition type. Frequently, not always. So this is a O type of proposition. So this is a O type of proposition because it talks about are not. And we saw here some are not. Are not is in the O proposition type. So you have to remember this A, E, I, O. All, no, some are not. I'm deliberately going slow for many of the students who are just jumping onto this video. So I'm covering everything in detail and this is going to be rather a very long video. This is not only for students, this is also for myself because I am too appearing for the exams for 24-25 Mumbai University. So this is a revision for me as well. So if you want to stick around and learn whatever I can give, you're welcome. Right, so we first detected, so we identified the type of proposition. So we say the above, or we write the entire sentence again. Can we just copy this? Frequently athletes are not vegetarians. So this is, we say, is a O type of proposition. Alright. So this is our first answer. Next we have to detect, convert it to its logical form. So for logical form, as I mentioned here, these are the 4 different logical forms. All SRP, no SRP. For I proposition type, it is some SRP. And for the O proposition type, it is some S are not P. So these are the 4 different type of propositions. Now, if it's a O type of proposition, we'll write this one. Conversion to O type would be some S are not P. P we can put it in double quotes. Some S are not P. This is its logical conversion. This is the answer. Okay, so we got the second one also. Now we'll go on to the third one. That is identifying the distributed terms and undistributed terms. Now for this again I'll have to digress a little bit and first explain you what is distributed and undistributed and how to make a small table of a distributed undistributed for easy remembrance. So very quick, if I tell you how to do it, is you write the four propositions here, A, E, I, O, one below another, like this. Write the subject, write the predicate, start with distributed, distributed, undistributed, undistributed. Then you start undistributed, distributed, undistributed, and distributed. So what it means is that this subject term is distributed and predicate term is undistributed for the A proposition type. For the E proposition type, subject is distributed and predicate is also distributed. Now, if I have to just make you quickly explain what is distributed and undistributed with the E proposition type, because it's the most simplest way to explain. So when I say distributed, or when it is said distributed, now E proposition type says, what does E proposition type say? It says no SRP, meaning nothing of the S is in P. No SRP means S is completely excluded from the P. Nothing of S is in P. So we have the statement no SRP here. Okay. So if you see, everything of the S, all members in the S class have the same type of characteristics, same type of properties, and they are not distributed outside that. It is completely inclusive and exhaustive also. So similarly, P, nothing of P is in the S and nothing of S is in P. So therefore they are distributed. Both are distributed. Now if I have to show you for the A proposition type what is distributed and undistributed. So we have for the A type, the proposition that we write, the logical form that we write it is in all S R P. Now through Venn diagram I can explain this through a Venn diagram, that is all S, everything that is in the S. So S is distributed, everything in the S is, that is all S are P. They are in P. All S are in the P class. All S are in the P class. But all P are not in S class. Some P are out of the S class. So that is why it is undistributed. It is not completely inclusive nor exhaustive. But S is completely inclusive and exhaustive. Everything that the S is, it covers in it. Nothing is going out of the S. So that is why it is distributed. When it is completely inclusive, that is, it includes everything that S should contain, then it is distributed. Otherwise, when it is undistributed, it means that some part of the P is also in the S. Of course, we can see that. But no part of the S, that is all part of the S, is in P. You can see here, all part of the S is in P, and some part of the P is outside of S, and some part is in S. Some part is outside of S, and some part of the P is inside S. So that is why it is distributed and undistributed. I hope it's clear. For A example, A type proposition and E type proposition, why it is distributed. With this simple table, start with distributed, distributed, undistributed, undistributed. Then continue with undistributed, distributed, undistributed, and distributed. This is very easy to remember. Now another type of question comes. Explain why it is distributed or why it is not why it is undistributed. So we'll have to explain in this way that no class of S for the E proposition type I'm saying, no members of the class S is in P and no members of class P is in S, the reverse way also. Therefore, they are completely distributed. That is, the keyword here is to say that it is completely inclusive and exhaustive. That is, nothing of P is left out and everything that P should include has been included. Nothing of S has been excluded. That is, it includes everything that it should. Nothing is left out. So it is completely inclusive and exhaustive. Now, alright. Now let's move to the I proposition type. Why is it undistributed? Both are undistributed is because the Venn diagram says, and what is the I proposition type state? It states some SRP. This is what it states for the I proposition type. So in a Venn diagram, it would be like this. So this is S and this is P. Now some part, which is this part of the S, some part of this S is in P and some part of the P is also in the S. So they are both undistributed. They are not completely inclusive and exhaustive. This is very, very simple to understand. I'll repeat again. Some part of the S is in P. That is why it is undistributed. It is not complete like the E proposition type. And similarly, the P proposition, sorry, not P, it is in the I proposition type, the predicate also has some part in the subject. That is, P is also some members of the P or some instances of the P or some part of the P is in S. Similarly, some instances, some members of S or some part of the S is in P. So both are undistributed. Okay, now that is I. We covered the I. Now the O proposition type. In the O proposition type, we stated the logical form is some S R not P. Okay. Now the Venn diagram is similar to the I type. So this is S, this is P. But now in this, because it says some S are not P, that is they are talking about this part. Some S are not P, this part. This is S and this is P. Similarly, some part of the P is also not in S. So the middle part has been left out. The one that is common to both have been left out. Now when they talk about this, some S are not P, it means that some part is in this, in the P. Therefore, it is undistributed. That is, it is not completely inclusive. But whereas the P part is completely exhaustive, that is, it covers everything that it should. But it also covers some part of the S. Okay, this will be more clear by looking at the proposition's logical form, which says that some of these S are not in P at all. They are not in P. So if they are not in P, then P is completely distributed. And when this is some S are not P, S is undistributed and P remains distributed. Undistributed and the predicate remains distributed. As I explained again, why it is distributed is because they are saying The first part says that only some S are not P. Means in this part there are no S. If there are no S, then P is completely inclusive and exhaustive. Completely includes all parts because the P does not include S. This is what they are trying to say. I hope this is clear. Anyways, regardless of that, if they ask us to create or state what subject term or which part of this statement is distributed and which part is not distributed, then you can simply create this shortcut table, this one, and quickly determine whether subject or the predicate is distributed or undistributed. Now, when the O part, subject is undistributed and predicate is distributed. So our third answer would be, they have talked about which part is distributed. So we know that subject, which is athletes, is undistributed, and predicate, which is vegetarians, is distributed. So they may just ask us which part or which term of this statement is distributed. So this was the question. Name the distributed terms. So distributed term is vegetarians and undistributed term is athletes. So I have explained both distributed and undistributed terms. They may ask us to state the undistributed term also. So this way we can solve this. For this particular question is for 2 marks. This is very simple. Now we have solved all 3 of them. First is what type of proposition it is. So it is O type of proposition. Convert it to its logical form. O type of proposition is stated as some S are not P. And then they asked us which is the distributed and which is the undistributed term. So the undistributed for O type is, as per the table given here, it is for O type, subject is undistributed and predicate is distributed. This is a very detailed video, so there is no way that you won't understand, and it's very simple and it's very scoring also, this particular part of 12 and 13 marks. So 25 marks are very easy to score here, plus a few more marks can be scored from the question and answers, at least by writing something or the other. So we covered this. Now let's take the second question and go a little faster. Not a single artist is a painter. Not a single artist is a painter. Now, first let us determine what type of proposition it is. We saw there are 4. One was all SRP, no SRP, some SRP, and some S are not P. These are the 4 types of proposition. Alright. So in this we have to understand is the copula. Okay. Painter is the predicate. Artist is the subject. Single artist is not a subject. Artist is the subject. Not a single means none or no. None. Not even one. So these are all substitute words. I've created a separate video for substitute words. You can find the link above, which will come now. I'll try to put the link. I'm not sure if I'll get the time, but do check out. You can go through the playlist and go to the substitute words for prepositions. Not a single means none, no one, no, and so on. Never. So this is a whatever preposition then it is. If it's a no, it starts with E preposition. This is a E type of preposition. So our first question we have determined that it is a E type of preposition. Now convert the E to its logical form. So it is very simple. It says no S is P, because here it's E is, so we have to type is. No S is P means no artist is a painter. So a painter is the predicate. No S is P, where we have to write also where S is artist, where S is an artist and P is a painter. P is a painter. So this is what we have solved the second question also. This is the answer for the second question. Logical form. The third one is to find the distributed and the undistributed term. How do you find? This is a E type of preposition. We had created a table earlier. We'll quickly create again. A, E, I, O, and first we start with distributed, distributed, undistributed, 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 distributed, undistributed, and distributed. So we know this is a E type. E type, both the terms are distributed. So we write subject, that is artist, is distributed. Predicate, a painter, is distributed. Alright, so we got the all three. Very quickly we could find it out within 3-4 minutes. We could complete this. So it's a 2-mark question which is easily scoreable. Alright, so we covered earlier, we covered the O type. Now we covered the E type. Now let's move on to the third one. Lawyers are invariably analytical. Excuse me. Lawyers are invariably analytical. Alright, so this is our question. Now, here we have to first find out what type of preposition it is. So, are means it is a affirmative kind of statement, that is positive it is. So, positive, it could be universal positive or particular positive or particular affirmative. Universal affirmative or particular affirmative. Now, universal affirmative we know is A type, and particular affirmative is I type. So lawyers are, then where is the key word for the preposition type? It is invariably. Invariably means all. So this is then automatically an A type of preposition. So then the statement will be all lawyers are analytical. Okay, all lawyers are analytical. Now, this is not the logical form. First, we have to state what is the preposition type. So, the proposition type is A. It's a type of proposition. Okay. Second answer is convert to its logical form. So conversion is very simple. All all as, because lawyers is the subject, analytical is the predicate. So all as are, you do not is, are, because you say all lawyers. So all as are P, where S is lawyers and P is analytical. Okay, so we got the two questions covered. Now third is to find the distributed term or the undistributed term. So we'll try to find both. Now in a proposition, we know as per the table, I'll not draw the table again. It is here, very simple. So if for A type, the subject is distributed and predicate is undistributed. We can create by D, D, U, U, that is distributed, distributed, undistributed, 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 distributed, undistributed, and distributed. This is what we have to remember if you just want to use a shortcut table. Alright, so we know for A type, the subject is distributed. Excuse me for the blank screen. For subject is distributed and predicate is undistributed. Subject is what? Subject lawyers. Predicate is what? Analytical. So we can write the term analytical is undistributed, which is a predicate in bracket, and the term lawyers is distributed in bracket subjects. So we have covered this also. So we have covered A, E. In this part we have covered the E type, and earlier we covered the O type of proposition. So what is remained is I type of proposition. What is I type of proposition? Although it is not in the question paper here, but we'll cover that up also in this. So what does I type of proposition state? Some are. So let's take a sentence. Some people are kind. We know, of course, that we are doing I proposition type. So this is a statement. Knowing that, understanding that this is assuming that we don't know what type of proposition it is, we'll break it up and see. Some means it is particular. How do we know it is affirmative or negative? Is by the R or R not, means by the copula. So this is particular positive. I'm writing positive, it is affirmative actually. So it is, we can consider it as positive also. So it is particular affirmative some, and R is, it's showing the quality that it is positive. So this is quantity. This is also easy, important to remember. This is the quantity, some, all, and this is the quality. This is the quality. Some people are kind. So this is particular positive, which means it is a, so we got our first answer. The statement is I type proposition. Excuse my handwriting, I don't have a pen or pencil to write. I'm using my mouse to write as fast as I can. So bear with me. Alright. The statement is an I type of proposition. Second question is converted to its logical form. So logical form would be, as I stated, some SRP. This has to be put in the double quotes. Some SRP. This is its logical form. Alright. Third was whether it's a distributed or undistributed. So we know through the table that for the I type of proposition it will be undistributed, undistributed. For E it is distributed, distributed. For I it is undistributed, undistributed. So if they ask you which term is distributed, then we have to just write no terms are distributed and both terms, that is people and kind, both terms people, subject and kind, predicate, are undistributed. So this is the third answer. So we have covered all the 4 different types of proposition. This is a very detailed video and we have covered the first 6-mark question. So it's very easily scoreable. If you do this, I'm sure you will be able to get the entire 6 marks without fail. But if you still not understood, then first thing is to rewatch this video, do comment, let me know if you have understood or not, so that I can make it more simpler next time. Or maybe you can let me know if I'm going very fast, or should I make it in Hindi also and make it a mix of Hindi and English. If you want that, I can create that also, provided I have time for my own studies and I'm able to devote more into logic. But as of now, I'm doing this for myself also. I'm not closing this video here. We'll continue with the next one. Alright. So